Hi, this is Mrs. Swigart, and today we're talking about changing fractions to decimals. Now, this is something you probably did last year as well, so it shouldn't be that hard. Okay, the lesson is to write a fraction as a terminating decimal and a repeating decimal. They'll also be able to compare decimals when we're done with this lesson. We've got a couple of terms you need to write down. A terminating decimal is a decimal that will end with no remainder. A repeating decimal is a decimal that will end with a pattern. And then the other thing you need to know is the word bar notation. And a bar notation is a symbol that represents to show that a decimal is a repeater. Okay? So you'd put it over the part that repeats. Okay, let's take 1/16 as a decimal. We're going to divide the numerator by the denominator. So we're going to put 1 underneath and 16 out to the side. And that any time you change a fraction to a decimal, you do that. And I can put as many zeros as I need to get this job done. I put more than I need just to make the point. Okay? Now, 16 won't go into 1 and it won't go into 10. So that's why I have 2 zeros. And notice I brought my decimal point up. If you don't know where to start, try 5. So we're going to try 5 times 16 to see if it'd go into 100. It's 80, which is a little bit too far, so I'm going to go up 1, and that gives me 96, which is really close. So we'll put our 6 up above and our 96 down below, and we will subtract and bring down a 0. Now, 16 will go into 40 twice, which is 32. We'll subtract and bring down another 0. 16 will go into 80. Well, we've already got that. It's 5. And so now we're done. Now this one is a terminating decimal. It's stopped. It has a remainder of 0. Let's look at another one that's not a terminating decimal. Remember, our numerator is divided by our denominator, so our 6 goes underneath, and I put plenty of zeros. How many 11s will go into 60? Well, this one's easier because you know your 11 facts. 6 would be too big, so we'll have 5. So we'll put a 0 above the 6 because it won't go into that. Our decimal is up, and then we put our 5. Now 55, we subtract, we get 5. Bring down a 0. 11 will go into 50. How many times? Well, 5 is too big, so we'll go 4. 44, we'll subtract, we get 60. Hey, if we keep going, wouldn't we start repeating here? Didn't we start with 60? Okay, so that is going to keep repeating. So this is a repeater, and the part that repeats is the 5 and the 4. And so when we put our bar notation with it, we'd put the bar above the number that repeats. You'll work these until they zero out, until they either have a pattern show up or until you have a 0 as a remainder. Now there's one more type of problem that you'll see in your assignment today, and that's when you change a decimal to a fraction, and you have a fraction and a decimal to compare. So let's turn the fraction to a decimal. So we have 20 will go into 13, it won't, so it'll go into 130. So it goes 6 times, which is 120. We subtract, bring down a 0. How many times will 20 go into this? 5. So that zeroed out pretty quickly. Now you compare those. So 65 is smaller than 0.7. Now remember, when you're comparing decimals, you have to have the same number of digits. So if I have 2 for the 65, I'd have to add a 0 for the 70. So it'd be 65 versus 70. That's why 13/20 is smaller than 0.7. Okay? Well, that's it for today. Good luck for tomorrow.